Hey guys, and welcome back to the Podcaster's Journey. My name is Caleb, and I'm going to be your host for today on this journey. I'm super thrilled to have you along for the journey again today. Today, we're going to be talking about my creative breakthrough and how that led to me landing over 230 leads just recently for my podcast business. So, without further ado, let's dive into it. Okay, so last episode, I was talking about how I wanted to dive into storytelling and share more stories as I was in this next 9 episodes, and I had no idea that the very next episode, I probably did at one point, but as I dove into the outline this week, preparing for this episode, I realized that when I had prepared this outline for the whole season, probably a couple months ago with ChatGPT, that this next episode was supposed to be about a story about a creative breakthrough for myself. So I'm excited to be sharing a little bit with you guys today in the form of storytelling and just try to hone this skill a little bit better right off the bat in the very next episode. So let's get into it. So as I alluded to in the intro, I was able to garner about 230 some odd leads this last about week, maybe a week and a half. Is what has happened. And so I want to talk about the breakthrough that led to that. So let me set the stage a little bit for you guys. Several months ago, I set out to create a financial engine for my family that would allow my wife to be a stay-at-home mom if she would like to be someday. That's our goal for our family. And so the way I was going to do that was through podcasting. And in my mind, the easiest way and the best way to do that was going to be through editing. And so I set off to make that work. I went out and found Matt. Really, I'd say that was kind of an inspired thing from God, but that's a whole nother story. Found Matt on Instagram, started working with him, and I was like, this is great. I don't want to try to continue developing this business by myself. I want to find people that I see who are succeeding in areas of life that I want to, and so went out and partnered with Matt in that way, and it's been a fantastic journey. And from there, I was working with Matt to figure out how to build this editing business. And along the way with that, I lost a couple editing clients. And so then I realized, well, editing isn't quite there. I need to figure out how to make podcasting more sustainable for my editing clients to make my editing job a little more sustainable or stable. And so then tried to figure out how to make this pseudo-marketing podcast editing business. And from there, I started having conversations with business colleagues and other entrepreneurs that I'm friends and colleagues with, and talking about their podcasts, and started realizing I really enjoyed coaching. And so this is where the lead started to come in, or the story of that starts to come in. Matt encouraged me in one of our meetings to start a podcast cohort. He's like, Caleb, if you're enjoying talking to people and you're getting a lot of joy and energy out of talking to people about their podcast and helping them create a more sustainable and solid foundation for their podcast, then I think you need to start a cohort. And I was really hesitant, to be quite honest. I didn't want to go there. In my mind, editing was the ticket. I needed to figure out how to make editing work, even though it was more exciting for me to figure out how to maybe look at kind of coaching within the podcast space. And so I put it off for a long time, and for probably a couple weeks. And finally, I was listening to a video by, no, I take that back. Let me back up. I put out a post in the community that I'm in with some entrepreneurs in Matt's group area where we do group coaching for business, and put it out to some of those guys. Just a little offer like, hey guys, I'm starting this cohort in the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be 6 weeks long, and it's going to be helping people find a more solid foundation in their podcast, make things more sustainable, talk about workflow, talk about editing a little bit, and talk about how to grow your audience a little bit. And I left it there. thinking, maybe I'll get one or two of these guys that I can work with and that I can help them and start looking at this. And after I posted that, I started watching this video from Daniel Priestley, great marketer, great entrepreneur, and great author that I respect in the business world. And a couple of his books that I've really enjoyed, like Oversubscribed and The Entrepreneur Revolution. If you are an entrepreneur in any sense, please go check those out. They're going to help your business. And so I was watching a video with Daniel and with Simon Squibb. They were together and they were discussing Daniel's idea of how to scale a business all the way from the side hustle stage all the way up into a very successful, financially successful venture and what it takes to kind of get there. And I've always appreciated Daniel's perspective of running things in a campaign sort of mindset rather than selling one-to-one, kind of how traditional business is. His mindset and his way of doing business is always like there's a beginning and there's an end point, and you're trying to create supply and demand around your program or your product or whatever you're selling. And for whatever reason, I know Matt and I had talked about this a lot, but for whatever reason, listening to Daniel's video and the way he explained it, it finally stuck out to me as like an aha moment where he was talking about if you're trying to create a product or a service, you really, in today's market, you really don't want to just go out there and create it blindly and put a lot of work into it and then put it out to market and try to figure out ways to market it to the people. You really should build it with the people in mind who you're going to be working with and build it from their problems. And I'd heard this idea several times over the last couple of weeks leading up to this point. Heard it from Daniel in this video, heard it from Matt in some of our coaching stuff, heard it from another entrepreneur that I'm friends with here in town. And they were all just talking about how you need to go, what's the best way to word this? Go create problems essentially for you to solve. Because I've always tried to solve all the problems before and meet all the, what's the word I'm looking for? Meet all the like pushback that I might get from a client and meet all that stuff and have all my ducks in a row before I ever take anything to market. But all these guys kept telling me, just take something to market, go explore business, go figure out what you like to do and go see what the market needs, go see what people need. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this post that I posted in this business group and I'm going to take it and I'm going to drop it in 4 other podcasting support groups on Facebook and see what comes of it. And so, and one more important piece of this story is that Daniel shared kind of his metric for seeing if an idea is worth pursuing. And he shared in there that you want to get at least 30, bare minimum, at least 30 people who have expressed interest in your product or service or whatever you're trying to build before you ever go kind of develop it further. And so I was like, okay, well, I would be really lucky, I think, to get 15 people that are interested in this. And so I went and posted it in these groups. And sure enough, by the time I went to bed, I was at like 27, 28 people, or maybe just over 30. And I was like, wow, okay, well, I think I've got a viable idea here. And by the time I got up in the morning, I think I was up around 80 leads of people who are interested in this. And then over the course of the rest of the week, probably about 7 days, it ended up close to like 230 some leads by the time it was said and done. They're still accruing. There's still people answering. I need to go back and reply to everybody. So, excuse me, I'm not even sure what we're up to at this point, but it was just such a different way of doing things for me and really opened my eyes to living outside your comfort zone and developing things in a way that there's a demand for it before you ever start building it. So for example, I've done this before. I developed a couple years ago a whole music program, maybe like a mini course, I guess you could say, on teaching people how to read music and how to sight read on the piano, just the basics of music, sight reading for the piano. And it's a free course, just like this course is. And so it's like apples to apples. It's the same. They both have the same value of what people have to put in to get the value out of it. But one, there's a lot more people interested in. The other, I built it the way that I thought people would be interested in it, but I can't really get anybody to go through it. I've had some really kind souls and friends who have gone through it, and I really appreciate them who've given me feedback on it. And it's been pretty positive feedback overall. But something in the way that I talked about that course for the music education and the way I created it doesn't lend itself to be picked up by a lot of people for whatever reason. And so the mindset shift or the breakthrough for me in all of that is just this idea that taking an idea, a simple idea to market and figuring out a way that you can communicate about it so that you can start conversations. Because I'll tell you what, guys, I've messaged all 230 some odd people that I've replied to so far, and not all of them have replied back, but everybody that I've been able to, that has replied back, my first message to them is, thanks for your interest in the cohort. What are things that you would like to accomplish in the next six weeks with your podcast? Or what has been the biggest struggle lately for your podcast? And out of that was just a treasure trove of data. I got to know that people want to figure out how to monetize their podcast. People want to know how to grow their audience. I think that's the number one thing I pulled out of all those conversations, was that people wanted to learn how to expand their audience. And then the other one was like figuring out workflow or like making your podcast more sustainable. Those were like the top three things that people want to learn about podcasting. And so what was really cool is now that I have that information, I can reverse engineer this cohort and build the cohort around what people have asked for help in building, and the tools that I have that I can insert into that. Instead of building this out thinking, okay, if you're podcasting, you need to go from A to B, and this is how you go there, and I need to tell you exactly how to get there. Which maybe there's some merit for that, but in today's market and in today's education system, I think people want a more customized approach. They want the pieces kind of mixed up to their journey and where they're on. So it was really awesome to me to be able to send out applications and get more detailed feedback on what people are trying to figure out in their podcast, and then put a group of people together, about 15 people out of that are kind of in the same place or all have expressed similar interest to learn about things, and then figure out how to structure this 6-week program based off of all that feedback. Huge breakthrough for me, and how I will probably forever kind of test where I decide to expend energy into. I don't think this works for passion projects and things like that. That's definitely not where this advice would go. So if you're doing a passion project with your podcast, definitely don't take this away. But if you are doing a podcast for a business or for a venture, before you build anything there, you need to go talk to at least 30 people and see if people are interested in what you're building. Talk to them about the problems they're having with that idea, with that problem or that solution that you want to bring to market. Talk to them and figure out what they need and solve those problems for them. Don't try to solve all the problems by yourself. Go talk to people and solve the problems that people are bringing to you. It's as simple as that, guys. It drives me bonkers, and if you have a personality like mine that's very perfectionistic, it's going to be so hard. I think that's one other reason that I fought it so long, is that I wanted to have everything, all my ducks in a row before I jumped into the deep end of the pool. And it's going to be interesting these next it's going to be 8 weeks because we're taking off a couple of weeks for the holidays. It's going to be a stretching experience for me for sure. But I just want to encourage you guys to go do things that way. So my big takeaways and lessons from this that I want to share with you guys is that step outside your comfort zone. Don't live your life completely inside your comfort zone, because had I not done that, I wouldn't have interacted with these 230 some odd people, and I wouldn't have the incredible data of what these people are trying to accomplish and a better understanding of the market and what people are trying to accomplish with their podcast. I've also I have yet to meet with a couple of these folks, but I was able to connect with a couple of other podcast coaches who run cohorts. And so I'm excited to connect with them further. We've got calls scheduled later on in the future, and I'm excited to connect with them and learn from them and just continue to network and and meet new people. So had I not stepped out of my comfort zone, I wouldn't have been able to do any of that. And I wouldn't have had this experience. It's been a really cool experience as well. So that's probably my main takeaway, is live outside of your comfort zone. The other takeaway is just do some research, build things, work backwards. Don't start at the beginning and build everything exactly the way you think it needs to be built. If you haven't, like I've already said, if you've got an idea for your podcast, go shop it around. Or even if you're thinking about starting a business and a podcast at the same time, go shop it around and build it to solve the problems of the people that you're going to try to serve with your business or with your podcast. It's going to make things so much easier. And it's going to attract people more because it's actually what people are looking for. As we wrap up here today, I just want to encourage you guys to reflect on your own journey and see how you could apply these things, where maybe you need to pivot or where maybe you need to double down. Maybe you're already in there and you just need to trust the process. I'm not sure where you're at, but I do want to encourage you to look for those breakthroughs. We can't always know when they're going to arrive. We can't always know how they're going to arrive. But I guess the actionable tips that I have for finding that breakthrough is going to be exposing yourself to high quality content that is encouraging your mind to grow and to expand. That is something, I got this same message from many different avenues, probably, Matt, Daniel, and Chris, probably like 3 or 4 avenues before I actually took a step on it. So I surrounded myself intentionally with people that are successful and with content from people that are successful, and that they gave me all the same message, and it finally was able to break through for me. So surround yourself with quality content and quality people who are going to encourage your dreams and encourage the direction you need to go, and step out of your comfort zone, and then just trust the process. So that's kind of my 2 cents, guys. Breakdowns don't happen every day, but when they do, they change things in a hurry, and it's so exciting. So I'm hoping for a breakthrough for you sometime soon in your journey and what you're trying to accomplish. But if you're in the middle of some kind of block or just looking for some clarity, I just want to encourage you to stay open and stay vigilant and continue pushing on, okay? And shoot me an email if you want to brainstorm it together, or just share your story with me. I would love to hear your story and just be a listening ear for that. So until next time, guys, happy podcasting, and we'll see you then.